Hi everyone, so we're going to create this little winter scene today. So we're going to be using the seasonal branches. We're going to be using this one which we've not used before online. This is the Christmas by Candlelight. We're going to use a little bit from the vintage baubles, festive scene, and then also snowy outlook. Now you can omit some of these if you want to, but if you've already got them or something, it's really good to just mix them in. So this is the scene that we're going to be recreating. So firstly, what we've got to do is create our little hill in the background, and then we're going to do our little winter sky. So we're going to do a little hill, and I've used a little bit of the repositionable, which is available on the website as well. And then basically what we're going to do is rub on this sky. So I'm going to start with some canary ink. So we're going to do the sort of Northern Lights swirl, and we're just going to take it. And can you see we're sort of coming back on ourselves like that? So we're going round in a little sort of part of an S shape. Just little swirls. And then we're going to use a little bit of green tea as well. So just around the edges of here. And you don't need to go all the way to the top. So always make sure as well that you're sort of getting rid of some of that ink on this scrap paper, because you don't want it to be too dark on here. Okay, so that'll do us. So a little bit of peony. So I'm just moving to a clean part on my finger with this dry baby wipe, and just start to blend in some pink. But don't worry too much about the colours on here, because you do get some lovely sort of effects if you blend these colours together. So a little bit around this side, and then what I'm going to do is filter in a little bit of black as well. So you could use a dark blue if you wanted to. So really whatever you prefer, or whatever colour inks you've got. So let's just take the black. So I'm just going to use my archival for this one. And just blend just over the edges of here like this, and just a little bit maybe in the middle. Just to sort of highlight the fact that it's night time. And that way this fairground's really going to pop when we put this on in the background. So just all the way around. We may at a later date sort of stop going over this technique and sort of refer to other videos, and that way we can sort of speed these along a little bit. Okay, so let's leave it there. Now you could do a bit more if you wanted to, but just for speed, I'm going to leave it about there. And we're going to start to pop in the little fairground here and some of the trees. So any of the trees will do, doesn't really matter which ones you've got. So let's go all the way along. I'm going to put 2 of the little tents in, and maybe one just peeping out at the back there like that without me inking. So let's pop our Ferris wheel in. Let's go about here. Okay, and then a couple of the little carousels, so we'll do the top. You don't have to use all of these either, so you'll see these are sort of going to be poking out from behind the hill, so don't feel like you need to use everything. So I'm going to take this up, so I'm going to stamp it off, and I'm going to take it up behind there like that, so you can see it in the distance. And then let's get some trees in. Any trees you've got really, it doesn't really matter. And then I'm off stamping first, and then we're just taking these off into the distance like that behind this fairground. So a couple of different ones, but again, it's entirely up to you. So just take them off into the distance behind there like that. Okay, so once we've done this, we can peel this away. And that gives our lovely little snowy hill. So what I'm going to do now is create this little section here. So we want sort of the bottom of a hill. So I'm using the straight edge of this piece of paper that we've cut. And I'm basically just going to add a little bit of shadow above. So this will sort of give us the bottom of the hill. Okay. So you don't need too much, but you just need to make sure that you can actually see that. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to just put the paper back over the top, and we're just going to move it down just slightly. And then we're going to add a little bit of colour just underneath. Now I'm remembering that my lamppost is going to go on this side. So I don't want to overdo the shadow. I'm going to put most of it in the middle. Okay, so there we've got our little hillside. Now, next thing I'm going to do is put in our little lamppost scene. So we're going to use the hill just down here. And then what I've done, I've stamped my little lamppost and I've cut a beam of light out. Now on this one, we've just done it in our usual way and put the colour on behind. But if you want to go a little bit further, then if you cut a little mask out like this and roughly put this lamppost where you're going to be stamping your little image, and again I've held it down with a little bit of double-sided removable tape, repositionable tape from the runner. And then we're just going to add, now don't do it too much because you don't want it too dark. Okay, so just a little bit. I'm doing more of it at the top. And then over the top of this we'll stamp the lantern. The reason I do it this way is so we don't sort of bleed, because I'm not waiting for the black to dry before we stamp over the top. I don't want it to be too wet when we sort of blend over the top, so it's much better to do your colour beforehand. You can always sort of, so it's not too perfect, I will just blend this out a little bit more yellow, so it's not too defined. And we'll just take that out a little bit, and then over the top of this we'll stamp our little lamppost. Okay, so you can make your light beam as big or as small as you want, but it is lovely just to highlight little sections of your card as well, especially if the rest of it's really dark and you just sort of highlight the little section under the lamppost. Okay, so let's find where the top of the lamp would be, and let's just go about there. So again, you could just do that little ball of light like we do quite a lot on lots of different things. If we stamp that over the top like that, and then what we're going to do is take the little couple and we're just going to stamp them directly underneath. So it just sort of draws attention to them really, underneath this lamppost. Then I'm going to do a quick reflection technique, and I'm going to show you how to do the little tree in the corner. So let's just stamp these just about here, just underneath this little lamp, the light beam, just there. Okay, we can take those off. You see, it just sort of draws attention to them. And then up here, we just want to put our little skater. Just notice she's got a bit of glitter on her, so just excuse me. I'm just going to try and stamp her, make sure she's okay. Yes. Okay, so I'll pop her just in the distance up here, and then I'm going to take a little piece of acetate. I'm going to stamp her onto the acetate. Now it is a bit slippy, so just be careful. It doesn't matter because it's only going to be a reflection. And then we're going to line that up with the feet. If you use a bigger piece, it's always a lot easier because it gives you a little bit of manoeuvrability. And then we're just going to stamp her down there. So you're basically using that acetate as a stamp, but it gives you that lovely little reflection as well there. So let's just add a little bit more colour just underneath where they're stood, like that. Let's just blend a little bit more underneath here. Just so there's a bit more shading. And then we can take that away. Now then, on this corner here, we're going to use some of the little seasonal branches just to create a little Christmas tree. But what I want to do is put a few little light sources. So this is how we would usually do it. So I'm just going to say roughly where I'm going to put these candles. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect, so don't worry too much. Let's have another little one up here. So gradually what I'm doing here is sort of going in the shape that this Christmas tree would be. I'm going to put a couple in the middle because we can stamp these branches over the top. So let's do about 4 or 5 little light sources here where we're going to pop these little candles. Okay, and a little bit of red just to warm up the colour. And then we're going to stamp the candles on first. Okay, so let's get our little candle. So this is from the Christmas by Candlelight set, which we're going to be using again later as well today. And we're just going to pop a couple of these little candles in before we do any little branches. So it's just sort of giving us that warmth. Okay, so now we're going to do the little branches. just in a rough shape of the Christmas tree. But what I'm not going to do is all of the branch here. We're just going to do the top bit. And then we're just going to start to shape this Christmas tree. Okay, so don't be worried about sort of going over the top, and just keep stamping them out like this. Until you've got exactly the sort of shape that you want. Let's do a little bit more up here. So you don't have to be worried about going over the candles because we've already sort of got those in place now. So all you're really doing is filling this in. So let's use a smaller one. And let's do this top section of the tree here. So anywhere where you feel you might need to fill in a little bit, you can add more as a little design. So there's your little sort of corner of the Christmas tree. So the next thing we're going to do is just put on some glitter. So where we've got our little reflection, we add a little bit of glue. And then a little bit here. And do you know what we're going to do? We're just going to put a little bit of the bauble in as well while we've got a little bit of time. So let's just pop a couple of little baubles in here as well, just to sort of finish off this little Christmas tree. So you can have as many of these as you want, as many different ones as you want. We're just doing a couple there like that. And then what we're going to do is pop that into the glitter. Okay. And then just to make it pop, if you take just a little bit of glossy accents, and then you can either put it on the baubles as well if you want to. So I'm just going to brush that off the lamp here, and we're going to add just a little bit. Oh, wouldn't you know it? Okay, let's not slow this down. Pop a little bit of glossy accents over the top there. It's always the way I should have checked it first. Okay, so there's the finished card, and there's the one that we did earlier. So I hope that was useful to you. Thank you for watching. Bye.